Ladies, welcome to another episode of the Revitalized Womanhood Podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you yet again for the second time on the Revitalized Womanhood Podcast, my dear friend Keira Brinton, and we are already in a mood. We're already in a mood. We're already. Should we tell them why we're already in a mood?
Yeah,
we're in the zone. I think you should show it. I think you should full on stretch your foot to the camera.
Actually, I ripped it off.
You did.
I ripped it off, but my foot was glued to my pants 5 minutes ago because I had glued some of these things behind me on the wall. They had fallen off, and so I was gluing them really fast before this podcast. And then I got up just now to check on my daughter, who's homesick, and my pants were glued to my feet, and I have glued all my arm. My jacket was glued. My jacket was glued to my arm. We're doing really well.
We're doing so well. Honestly, in Gina terms, like in the zone of me, that's a good day.
Yeah.
Like those are not bodily fluids. So that's a good day. I'm already winning if it's just glue.
That's just the truth. It's just the truth.
I'm okay with paint, Crayola. I mean, and there's a list of things that I'm okay with. Before, so I'm winning. We're winning. Today is winning.
It is.
And I am so excited to talk about your new book. You had me so fired up. And I'm going to say, I'm sorry. I'm just going to start this with, I hope you make as much money with Audible as you do with your book, because listening to you, I want to say that that's what really moved me. I mean, listening to you, because I know you and your heart and your voice and the power that comes behind what you say, and because of what you believe in what you're writing. Ooh, chills. And it just fires me up. Just like when I'm blessed enough to be on one of your masterminds or one of your calls, that it's just like the energy, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, I want you to kick this off by just introduce yourself again for my listeners, in case there are these beautiful new guests here for us to take you in.
Perfect. Yeah. So my name is Keira Brinton. I am an author. I'm a speaker. I am a book medium. So I help people channel their books in 5 days. I own JOA Publishing, which is a publishing house where we only publish books that are going to change the world. I'm also the founder of the Mosaic Network, which is a network of authentic leaders, speakers, authors, and entrepreneurs. And I'm also a mom, a single mom to 5 kids. So it's a real wild show over here.
You're pretty good if it's just glue on you too. You feel me.
Yeah. I went through a decade where I literally was like, poop is my life. I mean, I had like 3 babies always. And it was just like at one point it was like, that was literally my life for a decade.
Is this chocolate? Is it? No, it's never chocolate. Ladies, I'm going to warn you right now. It's never chocolate.
No, because chocolate just makes it to the mouth. It never is like on the arms. It's never on the shirt. Like it's never chocolate. Yeah.
My face is fingers right now. And it's painting. Oh, anyway, we'll get, it's all just, you have to love it. I mean, you have to just laugh and love it, because if you don't, too soon, you're going. I actually had this conversation with my girlfriend. I scanned my living room because Monday I tell you what, every piece of laundry was done and put away. Every single piece. That's never happened in the existence. I mean, pads were put back in sports bras. Sports bras were put away. They weren't hanging on doorknobs. I mean, everything. And then Tuesday came around, and not even Tuesday, that night. I'm going to say that night. The kids came home, the husband came home, and it looked like I shouldn't even have tried. And it kind of triggered me into thinking, why do I? I mean, it just ends up the same. So I videoed her and showed her the toys and the, everything. And she goes, "Oh, when was the last time I had actual toys on my floor?" She's like, her baby's 8. And she's like, it doesn't happen anymore. And she says, that kind of made me go, "Aw." I'm like, yeah, that's true. It's true. It's the season.
It is.
Well, I am sitting here by your beautiful, this book.
Oh, yeah.
God is my business plan.
Yeah.
I have it in my room with me, and I love that. But we're here to talk about Unleashed, this incredible incredible piece of work. What sparked the inspiration behind your book, Unleashed?
Last June, I was at a networking event. I belong to Genius Network, and I was talking to this AI genius, and he starts telling me about AI. And he says, pretty soon, like, artists won't need to create because we can actually have AI create the art faster, better. And if you need something fixed, we can fix it in 3 seconds. Where if you went to a painter, it can take him 3 months to fix that arm. And it was like time stopped. And I was shown a vision. And the vision was that if humanity was pulled out of the dark ages with inspired art, which was the Renaissance period, what happens to humanity where inspired art is deleted, where we've handed over to AI? And it was a moment where like time stopped. And I like knew that this was like divine revelation for me to receive. And about 2 weeks later, I was in Georgia at an author's ranch, and I woke up and I heard, this is to be a book and this is to be a TED Talk. And so I started to download the first, like what I wrote in it called The Battle. And I downloaded that part. It was like one of the first chapters. And I like received this war cry. It was like a war cry for inspired creation. And then it got like put aside, as lots of creations do, right? I'm like traveling every other week. On the weeks I'm not traveling, I'm home with my kids, and it's like full-time mom mode plus being entrepreneur. And in November, I kept trying to fill this week. So I take authors on 5-day adventures when we write their books. And there was a week in December that was open. And I had tried 4 different authors were trying to get spots with me. And I kept being like, this week's open. This week's open. And no one would take this week. And I'm like, what is happening with this week? And then I heard, it's my author adventure. And I was like, oh. So I took myself to the mountains. And I only had 3 days. And I received this book. And a week after it went live, I landed a TED Talk. I just knew, like, this is what I had seen. Like, this isn't my book. Like, I just got to be the vessel who brought it here. And it's like a real honor.
It's such an empowering message, an almost too incredible message, because it is so true. AI is eliminating thought creators, right?
Yeah.
It redefines the journey of creation for your readers. So I want to jump into, can you share a glimpse into the essence of creativity? Like for you, the readers can expect, what is the definition of creation for you?
Well, for me, creation is inspired, like an inspired idea, and then me bringing it earthbound. So it's, obviously I love birth. I had 5 babies. I probably would have more if I didn't have to like raise them. But I like really love the birthing experience. I love this idea, that this whole experience of bringing the spiritual being into earthly form. And I feel like that's just what creation is that we receive inspired energy and we get to bring it here into earthly form. And that it's just divine creation every single time.
So that's just so profound when you think about how many women are out here thinking that they aren't creative, that they aren't creators. And I'm going, what? You literally were born to create. That is your one truest gift. And some of us, it happens in different ways. Mm-hmm. Motherhood happens in different ways, but you were given the gift to create this journey for this new being, this journey for this new person, right? When you talk about a seed is planted with faith, it will grow. You guys, I'm going to pull a lot of quotes from this book. I'm sorry, it's just too good not to. A seed is planted with faith that it will grow. it is only in and with faith that our gifts, our creations will grow. Can you expand on that for me?
Yeah, for me, faith is everything. And I've always had a lot of faith. Like that's just maybe one of my gifts is just I've always had a lot of faith. But this last year and a half where my marriage, I had a 20-year marriage that ended a year and a half ago. And I became the sole financial provider of my 5 children. I also have a lot of employees that I provide for. And there were like really deep moments of fear. Like how can I do this? And I feel like I had the choice to either live in fear or to live in faith. And when I made the choice to live in faith, it became a non-negotiable. And I watched wild creations come to the earth, wild success happen based off of the ground of faith. And it is a faith that there is something prepped and prepared for us. And if we ask for ideas and we listen and we do them, then that path is opened. And that is the basis of all creation.
The big part on that is you said we do them.
Yeah.
We ask.
That's really big.
We receive. We do.
Yeah.
What happens when we don't do?
Yeah. One of the things I say all the time is it's better to not ask than to ask and not do. So if you're going to ask, then it's your radical responsibility to do. If you're not going to take action, don't ask. And here's why, is that creation comes in, ideas, inspiration comes in, and it has this rapid energy. And it comes in to get you moving. Like it actually comes in like a caffeine bolt. But if you choose not to take action, you now have all this wild energy moving in your body, which turns into overwhelm and anxiety and sometimes depression. And so we ask for the ideas, but then if we're not going to take action, then the energy of the idea gets stuck like bees inside of the body. And then we wonder why we're overwhelmed. We wonder why we have anxiety or why we're like getting into depression. And I always say, what were you inspired to do that you didn't do? And everyone always can hear, oh my gosh, I was inspired to write this book. I was inspired to start this thing. I was inspired to do this. And I didn't do it. And it tanks you. So if you're going to ask, you must do. And then the doing takes all of that energy and it creates waves of momentum. It's like gifts. Just so many gifts come to us when we do.
I don't think I want to go into what I'm about to say right now. I want to wait because I don't know where that's going to go.
Oh, honey, just jump on in. Jump in.
It's a lot. Okay, we're going to go off script here a little bit.
Yeah,
a lot.
I like off script.
So what happened was when we were going to record this episode, so Keira and I were supposed to record this episode a couple weeks ago, and it was just resistance. It wasn't going to happen for us. Yeah. And I said to her, I was listening to your book last night, and it really, really hit me hard because you were talking about this and being stuck and not letting it out. And this is creating this energy in your body, and how it's been you pulled, I mean, what do you want to say? You called out my book in August of 2022. Was it September? When was Unstoppable? You pulled that from me. I was sitting in a group of 200 women, and you were channeling this for all of us, and you pulled my book I was inspired to write out of me. And it has always been on my heart, always, since then. Yeah. And since then, I've had a couple other things that have been on my heart to create. And so as you're sitting here telling me this, it's almost like shame and guilt that I have not answered this call. Because what are my excuses? I'm a mom. I've got this community. I'm doing all these other things. All the excuses, which in my community, I don't stand for. I don't stand for excuses. And so as I was sitting there, it was happening while I was scrubbing the tub. My kids had just bathed the dog in the tub,
Yeah.
And now my 3-year-old needed to take a bath. So I was scrubbing the tub and bleaching the tub. And as I was doing it, I was kind of almost internally screaming. I'm pretty sure I said it out loud. Keira, this is my creation. I am creating right now. Don't call me to do any more. This is my creation. I'm creating a safe, healthy place for my baby to bathe. Yeah. And it was so like, when is this going to happen? If I keep putting the mute button, the snooze on these things that are obviously coming either, I don't care if they're coming down or coming out, like the gifts that I've buried all my life saying you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, you're not valuable enough. Society wants you to be this, you're supposed to do this, you're expected to do this. Like what women do, we just kind of shove it down. And now they're starting to creep up because I'm allowing them to. I'm telling my inner child it's safe. It's safe to show that side of you. Come out. And so these things are coming out, but here I am still quieting them. And it was like shame. And it was an ouch.
Well, let's talk about this, because shame is the vibrational energy right before death. So on the scale of energy, shame is literally right above death. So it's just like that space is so stagnant, and that space will tank us. And so what I love to play in when it comes to ideas and creations that I haven't brought forth, because even though I talk about creations all the time, I have pieces that haven't received my energy, right? Like they just haven't received my energy, and there's like a shame in it. And this actually came in for me last night, interesting enough, was this concept of I put out these goals, but if I don't look at my schedule and figure out where they're going to fill, like where would I write this? Where would I spend time on this? Then they're just fantasies and illusions that leave me feeling shame. And so it was like, oh, it's like this dance between looking at our calendars and saying, okay, I'm going to spend an hour on this day in my book. I'm going to spend an hour on this day receiving this message, and actually like putting it into our lives like we do for doctor's appointments, like we do for a client. Like, how do we do that? Because that is the only way it's going to come through. It's the only way. And I also believe that creation, especially divine creation, is like the fountain of youth. So if we were to look at my pictures from 5 years ago, before I started this wild world that I now live, I look much younger now. I have so much more energy. I have so much more joy. And I truly believe it's because I swim in divine creation all day, every day. Like, this is divine creation, what we're doing, right? Like,
right.
Sometimes divine creation is us receiving messages and sharing them with the world. Sometimes it's like we live in it. And if we live in it, it's like the fountain of youth. So I like to say that because it's like, this isn't just some dessert that you're waiting for after you've eaten your meal or done your chores. This isn't something that should be at the end of your list. If I were to say to you, I know how to help you tap into the fountain of youth and something that's going to activate the greatest joy ever for you, you'd be like, well, what is it? And if I told you, well, you have to go to this, salon every day for an hour, but it will make you look younger and you'll be happier and you'll have more energy and you'll probably make way more money, you'd be like, I will fit that in. I will put that hour in my calendar and I will go there every day. We have to look at creation as such. Like, it's a non-negotiable for our energy, our light. It's like, especially for mothers, for some reason we think that we don't get to do these things that fill us until we've checked our to-do list off. It's like, no. If you do it first, everything else is easier. Everything else is, it's like we collapse time. So clear the shame and then gift this to yourself.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because all I'm sitting here thinking about is all of these women who I work with and you work with and know in life, right? All of these women who have been handed these sticks of expectations that they've created a cage for themselves in. And to put something on a calendar that isn't for someone else is, I could never. Like, mom guilt would not exist if you knew your worth, your value, and what you prioritize. Because if you are firm in those things, mom guilt doesn't exist, because you know exactly who you are. Nobody and everybody else knows who you are and appreciates who you are and loves you and appreciates your value and what you put forth. So you don't have to have any guilt or resentment for putting yourself first.
Yeah. And bitterness won't exist. I spent a lot of years bitter. Bitter about, I mean, like down to like my husband at the time would be out for lunches with work and I'd be at home eating my peanut butter and jelly sandwich with my kids. And I was like bitter, like, what? Like, even though I loved being a mother, there was like so much bitterness. And when I began to follow the call in my soul, bitterness has no place in me. It has no place. Because I know, it's not this, it's like the sacrifice that we're taught to do, like sacrifice your dreams, sacrifice the calls in your soul, and that will make you a good mother. And it's like, no. The mother I am now, because I satiate the calls in my soul, I am such a better mother. And they don't have a bitter mother. They don't have a resentful mother. They have a mother who's alive.
Isn't that interesting? It's just like that I don't know the exact statistic, but it's pretty close to what I'm about to just throw out here is people that if you went to a doctor for a problem and the doctor said, here's the pill, take it every day, it will absolutely solve this problem. You will be cured.
Yeah.
Like 20% of people will actually do it. 20. If you have a dog that is sick and the vet says, you have to give this to your dog every day, 100% of the people will do it. Isn't that, like, how hard is it to give myself a pill? It's not hard. How hard is it to give a dog a pill? It's very hard. Yeah, hard. But people have that insane block in themselves that they are not worth. They are not deserving. And that's like mothers. That's bar none. They've been trained and conditioned that to fall on the sword is this badge of honor.
Yeah. Which is a tragedy. Yes, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for our children.
Yeah.
Imagine a mother who follows her dreams with fierceness and shows up for her children. Her children now know that anything's possible. Anything. Like my son, I pushed him to move to Nashville the day he graduated high school so he could follow his dreams as a musician. And he called me the first 6 months in so much doubt, as you do as an artist. And I would say, did you see what I've built? Have you watched me follow my dreams? And you've seen that I've dealt with fear and doubt and I've moved through it. Like, this is the path. And he's like, you're right. And he sees it, he knows it. And he's killing it. And I know that's because when we as mothers showcase it, this is just the life that they get. But if we as mothers go, oh, I'm not important enough. Like, I know that I'm here to do this work, but like I'm not important enough to set aside an hour a day or 30 minutes a day to bring it through. This is the river they swim in. And then that will just become their dialogue. Like, let's change that for our children. And we change that by changing it in us.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my heck. Where did I put it? Right here. I'm pulling out all the stops here. I actually put that in my community yesterday, this quote by Gandhi.
Yeah.
And it is perfect for what you're saying. Week 3. Where are you? Be the change that you wish to see most in your world. And once you do, your life will change.
And that goes back to the radical responsibility of doing. Yep.
In what ways does Unleashed empower individuals to tap into their creative potential and break free from their own self-imposed limitations?
Well, I agree with you. The listening is better. So if anyone who's here, like, get it on Audible, because I blessed my words with a code that those who listened would get activated into creation. And so even though I blessed the book with that, there's something around the vibration of the voice that goes in. And so just by listening, you will get unblocked just because it's been coded to do so. But I'm so damn real and vulnerable about my own battles with self-doubt, my own battle of almost committing suicide, my own battle of fear. And so when anyone reads this book, like, no one's going to feel not seen. And when you're seen, it frees you to create. Like, it clears out all the shame. It's like, oh, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who struggles to live. I'm not the only one who struggles with self-doubt. Like, these have been my Achilles heel my whole life. And now I don't swim in it anymore. And I know it's because of divine creation. When I stop creating, I swim in doubt every single time.
It's incredible. You just answered my next 3 questions in what you just said.
Yeah.
I want to read you this one.
Okay.
How do you believe embracing vulnerability plays a pivotal role in the creative process as explored through the narratives woven in your book? And that was you sharing those very personal moments of you. Yeah. That's crazy. You just answered all of those. That's so beautiful.
Well, I finished the book. I finished writing the book. Well, in 3 days, I brought through, I would say, 3/4 of the book. And then it got put on the side because it was December. And then, my kids were here for Christmas. My son came home for Christmas, and there was just no way I was writing it. I had like a 4th left to write. And I took an author to Sedona to write her book the first week of January. We were there on January 1. And my mouth got filled with canker sores. Like, I couldn't eat. I had every square inch of my mouth had a canker sore on it. And I went into prayer and I was like, God, what is the lesson? And God was like, I gave you a message. No, finish it. And I finished it that week. I sent it to the editor. And the next morning I woke up and God said, you didn't talk about suicide. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, this book does not finish until you tell your story. And so it was like a really important piece that needed to come through. And I believe it's because most creators, most people who are here to change the world, actually struggle with living. It's just a thing. And I believe it's because resistance, darkness, whatever we want to call it, wants to take out those who have the most light. And those who have the most light struggle to live.
That's incredible. That's too hard to think about because it's so true. It's Oh, okay. How do you envision Unleashed igniting a spark of inspiration and fostering a sense of empowerment among the readers who are just like me and just like wanting so much to get on this journey, to get on this path and just have the resistance?
Yeah. I hope that this book proves that anything's possible. And that really no one has to be qualified to do what they've been inspired to do. Like, there was no qualifications for me to become a publisher. I never even went to a day of college. There's no qualifications for me to run a whole network of leaders. I was called, and so I do. And I hope that when people read this book, it clears out that fear and that doubt that says, I have to have more certifications behind my name. I have to have one more program under my belt. No, you don't. No, you don't. Actually, those who are least qualified are better at what they do because they are divinely inspired. Those who have PhDs and all these things behind their names, guess what? They get so stuck in their mind because they've been so educated that they can't follow the call in their soul. So everyone who's listening, I don't care if you've never been to a day of college. I don't care if I had a 2.7 in high school. Okay, this was not a thing for me. But I am an entrepreneur and I am a creator and I know what needs to be done. That is within everyone who is called to do something. Like, you were given the gifts, the talents, everything you need to provide for this vision to come to life. Otherwise, you wouldn't be given it. And so I want everyone who reads this to walk away being like, shit, this thing that I've been called to do, I was called because I have everything I need to do it. And if every person who read this book, they did the thing they were called to do, can you imagine what would happen for humanity if people all followed the calls in their souls?
It'd be incredible. It'd be another renaissance. It would be. It would be another renaissance.
Yes.
That just touches, and maybe because that's what we were kind of talking about before we started recording, was I do feel called to be a coach. I do feel called. I do feel like that is a calling. I do feel like that's part of my gifts and part of my, my book that I feel like I'd like to get out into the world is that I can show women how to see themselves as everybody else sees them, without the limiting beliefs, without the, without all the trauma and bias that they have for themselves that they see in their mirror.
Yeah.
But I will help them see what the rest of the world, what their children see, right? How beautiful that is. And I have that gift. I have that gift of when women come to me and I meet them, they come to in any situation. I mean, not just in my own community, in anything. I've jumped on your calls. I've jumped on calls with Brittany. I've jumped on all things. And I just have this energy that's radiates out of me to engage, to get engagement, to get people excited, to get people hyped up. It's just, I love doing it. And so to tie myself down to what's your certification? It's like, well, guess what? I didn't pay a brick and mortar hundreds of thousands of dollars for them to tell me to read books. I do that on my own.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay for some person who I have no idea and I am not inspired by to stand in front of me and preach something that I don't even know if they're passionate about or if they're just collecting a paycheck. But I find the people who inspire me, like you. I find the people that I want to be in the same room with. And I let them mentor me and I listen to them and I let them share with me what they're passionate about. That's better than a degree. You know what I mean? Obviously, yes, it's similar to being a doctor. They have to have someone that inspires them, show them how to do the work they need to do. That's a thing. That's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm being, it's kind of like choosing your family, right? You're given your family, you don't get to choose them or whatever. But then when you're here, you get to choose your family. You get to find the people that make you feel whole. Yeah. I get to be on that journey as a coach. I get to find the people who make me feel whole as a coach. And then that filters down from me.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that. And I think this is a really good point, because even though I do deeply believe in mentoring. So I've spent well over $200,000 in the last 6 years on mentors, right? Because I value being taught what I don't know, because I want to collapse time. So if somebody's already figured something out, I would rather just collapse time and learn from somebody who's spent years learning it.
Cheat codes.
like let's collapse time. Let's cheat code this. Let's go to where I need to go sooner, faster, greater. I am not afraid of investing money in my work. That is one of the greatest things I could tell people. We didn't have money. So I need people to hear that, okay? Because you're like, well, you just had money. No. When I started this journey in 2018, like we didn't have any money. I had to take 4 credit cards out to join my first mastermind. And I built my business off of credit cards for 2 years. I'm not saying people should do that, but I'm also saying there is always a way. There's always a way. And if you're hungry enough, you'll find the solution. You'll figure it out. And everything that I invested has come back to me tenfold, 100%. But it's because I value being a student. But it had nothing to do with certifications behind my name. I actually just found the people who I knew could mentor me to take me to where my visions were showing me. And so I think this thing of like, we are qualified, and also find the mentors who can take you there quicker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into that since you opened that door of these masterminds and talk about community, because you have just created a beautiful community, the Mosaic community. And I love this quote from your book. And you say, loneliness is a lie, swallows you and makes you think you've been eaten, sucks out your joy, removes happiness and replaces it with selfishness and lack. The way out is to point your focus outward. It is in service to others that loneliness decays and rots. I feel this so much. I love community. I am an advocate for community. I think everybody needs to find their community and where they belong. And you've created a space perfectly for creators with other mentors for them where they can not only receive, but they can share. Tell me about Mosaic.
Well, yeah, let me talk about that quote for a second.
Yeah,
I remember,
I would love that.
so most of the things that are in my book, God spoke to me. And I know that's like very like bold to say, but it's just true. And that exact morning, I woke up so lonely, like so lonely. The weeks I don't have children, if I'm not traveling for work, my house hurts. It hurts. You know, like I'm so used to having children all around me, and then to go 7 days with no kids is just really painful. And I woke up and it was like so lonely. And I went into prayer and I received those words for me. And I was like, it's a lie. Loneliness is a lie. Interesting. And so that message was for me. And I believe that message is for everyone, because we all have moments of loneliness. And one of the greatest experiences of loneliness is to be in a group of people that you don't fit, to be in a group of people that they can't see you and they can't hear you. That's more painful than being alone. And so one of the things that I've created is a community where people can be seen and heard for their greatness. So in the Mosaic Network, it is every call I run, I say, no one is allowed to hide or shrink in this space. Like, this is a place to celebrate your biggest wins, and it's a place to share your deepest sorrow. Like, it's both. You have to have the bandwidth to be held in both. And so the Mosaic Network it's so beautiful. It's a place where authors and entrepreneurs and speakers and leaders can come together and really be in community. That means that we do networking calls, but I hate the word networking. It's authentic connection and figuring out, how do we support each other? How do we help each other? Because to be a leader is a lonely path. Most people, like the things that we do as leaders, most people would never have the guts to do. And so it's very lonely because most people think we're crazy and can't understand why we would do the things that we do. And so there's something about just being with other leaders and entrepreneurs where you feel so seen. And you could tell your wildest dreams and everyone's like, yeah, like go. Instead of like, maybe think about it. No, go. This is what we do here. And then I've watched, as I've published so many authors in the last 4 years, 5 years really, that they would tank after their book would go live. And so I started to like really do research. Like, why is it that I don't tank? What is it? What is the thing that, like, for some reason, even if I've launched so many programs that no one bought. I launched books that no one bought. Like, this has not been like, well, because everything works for me. No, like, I've had crickets year after year after year. How did I not tank? And I started to look at it, and it was these 4 pillars. Is like, social media is massively important. Having a brand that really represents you, learning how to become a public speaker, and your entrepreneurship skills. And I realized, like, these are really strong pillars that I've like held myself on. But I wouldn't say I'm an expert at them. I've just gotten good at them. So then what I did is I hired experts. Someone who took a company to 100 million. He comes in once a month and roundtables entrepreneurship with the members. Somebody who is like Casey Baker, she's globally renowned speaking coach. She comes in once a month and teaches people how to land their messages through speaking. I've got Juliet Wright, who comes in and she teaches branding. I've got Robin Williams, who comes in and helps us with social media. And our entrepreneurship guide is John St. Pierre. So everyone in the network gets support by mentors on the pillars that will help sustain their work. And then we do, obviously, networking. And then we have the Mosaic Media. So we have the podcast, we have the YouTube, and everyone who comes in, they get to have the opportunity to be published in a published book. And they get to learn how to write their chapter with me. And I look at all the pieces that are going to give people momentum. Because one of the greatest tragedies is when someone's called to do work and they can't sustain it, and then they tank. And that it's a tragedy to me. And so I created the Mosaic Network to like solve that problem.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You actually, and I have had an opportunity to have a peek into it. It is incredible. It is absolutely what you're saying. It is all the feels. For the sake of my listeners and my community here, there are also some that would be amazing for your community. You say the gift of community, a mother with a hungry baby and a crying toddler at her feet. And that stung, because there are so many of those who feel alone, who feel desperate, who feel not seen, not loved, not heard, not valued. And they're drowning in loneliness. And this, if nothing more than this podcast, if nothing more than the Instagram post that goes with it, you are loved, right? You are seen. We are here. There are so many of us out here. When you were that woman, because I know that you wrote this because you were this woman, what would it have meant to you to have been introduced to one of our communities?
It would have meant everything. I mean, that story. So at the beginning of every chapter, I knew that in section 2, it needed to have a parable. And so I would go into prayer and I'd say, give me a parable, and I would receive a vision. And so that vision didn't actually happen in the sense that I didn't have friends who showed up and took care of my kids. I really did it alone. And so when I received that vision, I thought, oh my gosh, what would it have been like? What would it have been like if I had friends who showed up and said, hey, we got you today. Like, go take a nap, and we're going to clean your house. We're going to feed you food, and we're going to do all these things. Like, what would that have been like? And I feel like that is why I create community, because I have had so much loneliness in my life. And I think if we can gather people in any type of community, just like find people, find others. It is in our loneliness that we delete our gifts. Loneliness comes in and it plagues our mind, and it hides our gifts, and it quiets the call in our soul, because loneliness, it's like sap, and it fills in the holes, but it gets really sticky and you can't get out of it. But loneliness is a lie. And so when we can pull ourselves out of focusing in and we focus out and we ask God, hey, could you give me community? Could you bring me some friends? Show me where I go. Like, everything will be easier. We're not meant to run alone.
It made me think of, I think I was inspired when you were talking about the darkness and loneliness being a lie. And I thought, if we could, when is the darkest? The darkest is before the dawn, right?
Always.
And if you, in your worst moments, what do? We unnaturally, which is funny that it's unnaturally because it feels so natural to go within ourselves, right? To hide away. I have a fight with my husband. I'm going to go dark. I'm screaming at my kids all day. I'm going to go dark.
Yeah.
I have postpartum depression. I'm going to go dark. Right. Nobody understands me. Nobody can connect with me. Nobody, right? If you can find that shimmer, even if this person can't do it themselves, hopefully I pray they have someone that can be almost a lighthouse with a beam. And if they can be brave enough to say one thing that's on their heart, like come out, share it with one person, and imagine that one person is a light beam and takes the weight of what you've just shared. So not only does your burden feel less heavy, but now one light beam has shone through into that darkness. If you can imagine that, listeners, anybody out there in this podcast universe, if you can imagine, instead of doing what feels so natural but is so unnatural and going inward and being alone, because loneliness is a lie. You heard it here as fact from Keira Brinton. It's a lie. Let one person in, and that one beam of light will become the dawn. Right?
So beautiful. Yeah. It's really beautiful.
So we just need to keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. Just flood the, what are these called? Airwaves?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was Radio Land, but we'll date ourselves a little bit. Looking ahead, what empowering message or lesson do you hope readers will carry with them long after they've turned the final pages or listened to the last words of Unleashed?
I think for me, I want people to know that God is real, that God is tangible for everybody, that you can create space to go in and receive, and that you can be a steward for the work that you're called to do. And that if people leave my book and their experience with God is stronger, their belief that they are seen, that they are known by a higher power, and that they can co-create with the divine, like that would change their lives. And that's my hope.
I love it. We'll send it out there. Hopefully it lands.
Yeah.
All right, lady. Where can these beautiful listeners find your work, find you, get this book? People, I can't show you it because I did exactly what Keira informed me to do, and I got the Audible, and it blew my mind.
I have it.
Oh, yeah, show it. They can see because that picture is fire. It is fire. Talk about a branding coach, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that because I've watched your progression, and this photo shoot was fire.
Yeah.
So good.
And that was a whole inspired. I had seen that photo shoot in my head. I was shown which photographer to hire. I had no idea it was going to be the book cover. I literally had no idea. And after the photo shoot, I was like, oh, that's the book cover. And it was very actually scary for me to post that. But it feels like it matches the book, which is to be bold and to be fearless, right?
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to get the book, it's on Amazon. Fastest way, go grab it. I mean, I highly suggest Audible, even though it's nice to have the book if you like to have quotes. The book has so many heavy hitter quotes in it.
So it doesn't end up looking like this in your house on a notebook.
Maybe get the book and the Audible because then you can highlight the quotes. And I can say that because these aren't my words. So I can talk about it these quotes are amazing because whatever, they just were given to me. They're not mine. And And Instagram is the fastest way. Just Keira Brinton is my handle. I answer my DMs. I answer them. I don't have anyone who answers for me. So that is a fast way for people to get a hold of me. Send me a DM. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear where you're at. And, you know, obviously I have websites, KeiraBrinton.com, MosaicNetwork.com, JOAPublishing.com. But follow me on Instagram and connect there. And that will be a great place to begin.
Thank you for your passion in this work. Thank you for being a voice, like a very, it's not a loud voice. It's not loud. It's not a loud voice. It's a very striking. It really hits. And you guys, when you hear the audible, you'll get what you say.
I don't mess around.
So good. You'll be scrubbing your tub, screaming, "This is creation, Keira." Thank you.
It is creation. But I do want to end with this, that every mother and every woman also has a soul work that is designed for them. And motherhood is our greatest calling. And we innately have a work inside of us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your time and thoughts with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I love you, friend. I can't wait to hear what's next and follow along and be part of it.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, woman.